Snorting, a horse flung up its head. Mogris glared at the rider. Sound travels at night. I kneed Helios close to my brother's roan and pointed at the breach in the high wall. It was hard to see it, but it was there. I had found it scouting ahead of the others. The earth ramparts of the fort were not well maintained. Perhaps that spoke of few men and fewer supplies, or poor leaders. Perhaps it spoke of arrogance. This place lay far inside Scottish lands, and if the brigands there thought themselves safe, that only friends would approach these walls, they were wrong. Mogris nodded. Helios had the strength to charge the slope and jump the gap in the wall. The others? We would find out. But we had cut our way into such places before and would not linger. The reavers of the Scots' borders used this fort as a base for raids into our English lands. We would destroy it and them, and run. I beckoned Ralph, a veteran of the wars of the East March, and the man nudged his horse forward. I made the sign of a bow being drawn and held up 2 fingers. He nodded and scanned the men. Thomas and John, one young, one old, both steady, had bows slung across their chests. Ralph waved them close. 2 to ride, 2 to cover. I trusted our lieutenant. Ralph was good with a sword, better with a dirk, and pitiless. Mogris offered his sword to me, and I touched it with my own, blade to blade. Dame Fortune be our friend. All soldiers are superstitious. We were no different. Do not think. I pulled the reins short, spurred Helios, and set him running at the breach. I heard Ralph behind, only a pace away, and I could not falter or his horse would run us down. It was the day of the solstice, and yet the air was bitter. It numbed my face as the stallion sprang the gap. But fortune kept us safe. Mist had settled inside the walls, a covering as we ran for the gate. At full gallop, a heavy horse will shake the earth. Perhaps this woke the sentry to his death. The man startled awake as Ralph's knife slashed a mouth in his throat. He made no sound as he dropped. I flung from the stallion's back, and we heaved aside the bar that held the gate. And so it began. Arrows skinned the air, and Mogris, howling, our men behind him, charged the shelters of heather and stone that hid the raiders. Half naked, half armed, they boiled from the doorways, still warm from their last mortal sleep. Faces, open mouths, and women in the shadows, screaming as blood flew from the swords that bit and sliced. We had the force of surprise and would soon be gone. "Burn the huts!" Slashing forward, cutting down, I slung the words away. A misplaced slice and a man's hand fountained through the air. It still held a sword, as I booted Helios through the heaving, howling melee to Ralph's side. At its center, he cut as neatly as a tailor, eyes no brighter than his blade. A panicked woman screamed. She had a baby in her arms. I saw a man run to the girl. He stood above her, and his blade dealt death in a red and silver wheel. He fought well for her life, for the child. Some men's faces in battle are not easily forgotten. "None to live!" My brother had a voice that was always heard. He scythed men like barley as flame bloomed and jumped from thatch to thatch, and light flared across bodies, piled in heaps. Flank beside flank, Ralph and I slashed on, pushing the few defenders away from the open gate, away from freedom. Our horses were scarlet to the hocks, but we and they were used to that. A bellow from Mogris, "Fall back! Back!" and the band, man by man, obeyed. I was the last away. Inside the ring fort there was no movement, and the only sound was the spit and crack of fire. The man and the girl and the child were nowhere I could see. "Bayard!" Ralph lingered by the gate to see I was safe away. And then we fled to the east, toward the rising light. Fog moved over the face of the Pentland Hills. A shawl of rags flung across bracken and moor. It slowed us as we rode. But if it hid the track, there was this advantage. Sound is trapped by mist and snow, though that was yet to come. I nudged Helios to a trot and rode up beside Mogris. Nothing moved as we left. My brother grunted. It was my role to search for survivors and dispatch them. This raid had always been a gamble.